good evening. I'm Melisa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Now, launched with the vision of transforming the polluted rivers of Sungai Gombak and Sungai Klang into a vibrant city waterfront, the River of Life project was hailed as a beacon of urban renewal. However, according to the latest Auditor-General's report, the River of Life project is neither likely to meet its deadline to be completed by this year, nor has it met any of its objectives. This despite close to 4 billion ringgit already spent on the project. Now, joining us to explore the promises, the potential, and also the pitfalls of the River of Life project is Dr. Shuhana Shamsuddin, founder and first president of the Malaysian Urban Design Association, known as PEREKABANDAR, which is a registered NGO championing good urban practices with aspirations to reclaim the character of Malaysian cities. Dr. Shuhana, thank you so much for being back on the show with me today. From our previous interviews, I remember you mentioning that you were previously the lead consultant for DBKL's Heritage Trails. Now, I was wondering whether you could talk to us a little bit about your role back then and the scope of work in relation to the River of Life project.
Okay, first of all, thank you, Melisa, for having me again. I'm glad that you remembered the conversation we had about my involvement in the past. Now, when I was commissioned to lead the project of doing the Heritage Trail Master Plan, the coverage of the area is actually also involved the River of Life project because as you can see, the Heritage Trail Master Plan focus on the historical significant areas in KL, which actually involves the area also, which is one of the magnets of the Arula project, which is at the confluence of the two rivers, where Masjid Jami was located. So when we were doing this project, we had to actually review the ROL master plan so that we can incorporate what has already been proposed in the ROL project into our Heritage Trail master plan. So one thing that struck our mind was that during that exercise is that the ROL was actually more focusing in the areas of the heritage areas. They are more focusing on beautification program of the river banks. Whereby if you look at the overall objectives of the ROI project that actually justify the huge amount of money spent, is that they should also be focusing on cleaning up the river, apart from beautifying the river, and also area development of in a way activating the areas along the river bank to generate projects that could lead to more affordable housing and also economically transform the areas that is in decline, especially if you look at the part along near the Medan Pasar and so forth. Many of the buildings are actually dilapidated. If you're familiar with the location, the Medan Pasar, where they are doing now a new design for its square, the buildings are all dilapidated, and some of them are actually vacant, run down, and so forth. And had ROL project was also focusing on urban regeneration. That means, to not just look into the river, but also how you can transform the areas next to the river, injecting life back, reusing the building stocks, for example, through adaptive reuse and or also through conservation works, as well as new development that could actually generate economic activity in the area. Then the ROL would be more achieving these objectives. But I noticed that when we were studying the master, in that particular area, the focus was more on beautifying. Now, as the president of the Malaysian Urban Design Association, beautification is actually the lowest level of urban design intervention. It is something that we, like I mentioned last time, it was just like more of cosmetic, putting makeup, which is good in the beginning, but it will not sustain for long. And that's, if you go to the place now you can see the effect. of all this makeup is now drying up, and some of the landscaping works are also seeing the light of the days, and some parts are not really being visited because the landscaping was more ornamental rather than functional,
Right.
places and so forth.
Dr. Shuhana, help me understand. So part of this beautification phase or objective of the River of Life project, as we can see, it's very kind of modern, contemporary, or beautification in as how I think landscaping is defined. How does that tie into heritage, the heritage of the city, and the work that you were doing trying to carve out the heritage trails of the city center?
That's why you see, when we look at the ROL master plan, some of the proposals that everybody they've already made along the river banks actually go against what we were trying to propose, to actually connect back the river to what the history of the place. Because remember the two rivers, which the meeting point is actually the one that generate the birth of Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah.
And therefore, just to do beautification program doesn't do justice to the importance of the area. We would expect that the proposals of revitalizing is more not. It shouldn't be beautifying. It should be more on revitalization, regeneration, that actually incorporate, bringing life back to those declined areas, and at the same time create activities in the area with the design of the urban spaces, the pedestrian linkages, supporting this economic activity. Because before I was engaged in doing this heritage master plan, I had a research grant given to me by MOSTI to do urban regeneration of the historic waterfront in Malaysian cities. So in that particular research, I was studying the historic waterfront in Malaysia, where KL is also included as one of the case studies, and we benchmark it to the historic waterfront regeneration in UK and US. The approach over there is much different than what that has been done in RL. Over there, the push was more on the cleaning up of the waterfront, the water quality, improving the water quality, and more on reusing back the historic buildings and so forth for new activities, so that it can bring people back to live in the waterfront. And beautification was the least priority.
Okay, so successful urban waterfront restoration overseas focuses on cleaning the river, on the water quality of the river, because you can't have, a successful restoration without clean water. Yeah. Is that accurate to say?
Yes, and at the same time injecting life back to the urban form, all the historic buildings along the waterfront. I give you an example. In Birmingham, for example, the canal, which is like the river that we have in KL. The canals are just very, very, very narrow and so forth. What they do is that this canal has been, the water quality has improved, and they also can use the canals for water activities such as the long boats, which are very narrow but long boats, which can navigate along the river. I think it's possible. If you were to clean up the river, then you can introduce also water activities that can actually make people, integrate with the river, and not just now. What's happening now? I mean, you can just walk along the river, but the water quality has not reached the target that it used to be for recreation, and it's still murky. And I think they should have invested more on the new technology in cleaning up the river, as well as, solving the sewage problem that actually causes some of the pollution of the river. But sad to say that we missed the opportunity of regenerating all those buildings along near the waterfront. They, like I said, decaying, obsolescent, without any use, and now they become the place for these migrant workers. Because they become cheap housing stocks for the foreign workers to live there. And in a way, the local peoples are deterred from going to these places because they feel that they have been outnumbered by this kind of population. So there's a lot of social problem also involved. And during the research that we did, where we studied the activities along the waterfront at that time, even near the central market, there's a pedestrian bridge. It's been a place for the homeless people to sleep. And it was very not safe really to walk along those parts of the river, which is actually close to the central market, but not being dealt with as part of the
When you talked about the water quality, one of the objectives of the River of Life project was to achieve water quality for recreational purposes. So that can involve body contact. So, you can practically swim in the river. I wanted to ask you, now that the government has said, okay, so yes, they're not going to meet the deadline of being completed by this year, and there are issues with not meeting the objectives, but the government has decided to continue to forge ahead with the River of Life project. And I was wondering what you would like to see the government prioritize when it comes to this project, and what not to repeat in future projects when it comes to thinking about urban design and also heritage preservation.
Okay, I think what not to do is to focus on beautifying. because it's not sustainable to beautify places. Like, it's just a temporary solution, and what we call just a tactical urbanism. And it's something that you do to deal with the problem in a short-term manner. So what is needed is to adopt an urban regeneration approach, where you do not just beautify, you actually focus on giving life back to because the problem with like historic waterfront is that they got many building stocks, properties that is in a decay manner and so forth. So some kind of solution must be done to either repossess the building or to force the owners to actually repair the works and so forth. Because if the river is clean, but the buildings addressing the rivers are actually in a rundown manner, you still cannot have a holistic solution to the problem. So beautifying is something, like I said, just icing on the cake. You have to make sure the cake cooks well and tastes well, then only the icing will actually complete the whole presentation. Yeah. So it's a lesson learned, but I think it's really for us who are into urban design, also in where our concern also to make sure our heritage, urban heritage is being protected. This is a missed opportunity. I mean, we could have actually, through this 4 billion, more than 4 billion ringgit project, we could have done wonders, and could have transformed the historic waterfront of KL as one of the jewel of the crown in KL. Had the approach was done. I don't know. I think if they are the other side of the coins, whereby this kind of project requires coordination between many different departments, to get into the implementation. And I think the next speaker will actually will talk more about this.
All right. Dr. Shuhana, thank you so much for being on the show with us. I appreciate your insights. Always a pleasure talking to you. That was urban design expert Dr. Shuhana Shamsuddin from PEREKABANDAR. We're going to take a quick break here and consider this. We'll be back with more. Hi, welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris. Let's continue our conversation about the River of Life project after the latest Auditor-General's report found that it had not met any of its objectives and is unlikely to meet its deadline of being completed by this year. This despite close to 4 billion ringgit already spent on the project. Joining us now is Gaik B, alias Dalilah B. Abdullah, who is a former director of DBKL's Building Control Department. Haja Dalilah, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. Maybe you can begin our conversation today by describing your role and the scope of work in relation to the River of Life project when you were with DBKL.
Okay. project River of Life actually have a lot of package, as what you know, and I happens to be in my earliest department, that is implementing department, and I happens to be handle one of the package, that is package 3A and 3B. And that one is actually the boundary of the project is actually starting from the PWTC. If you know the PWTC, the confluent river, and until to the whole stretch until to the DBKL HQ. All right, near the Ben Negara. So the whole stretch of the total project is 10.7 kilometers.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about your specific role. You were looking at that stretch of the River of Life project. So how do we think about it? Because if the River of Life project is cut up into stretches or different parcels and phases, who oversees the entire project, and how do you ensure that your part is continued on to the
Basically,
next?
I'm the officer in charge for that parcel, and we actually started come in when the project is awarded to the contractor. So we are actually monitoring and coordinating the project start from construction until the completion of the project.
Okay, what were your objectives? Talk to me about the vision of the
Basically,
River of Life.
the main intention of this project is to revitalize the public realm in the city riverfront, particularly by pedestrian walkway, the bridges, and a bicycle lane with the provision of OKU-friendly facility. Okay, when we say that OKU, it means that the people with disability. So our intention is to create a seamless and is also accessible to all, whether whatever background is the public, you know, is friendly for all. That goes in line together with our Kuala Lumpur City Hall vision, that is city for all.
Right. Did you feel like that objective was achieved in terms of accessibility and
Yes,
inclusivity?
I'm very happy that at least that objective, because our aim is to enhance the river frontage and also to create green pockets and to promote public activity. And I think if you are looking at the impact and also the public perspective in terms the outcome for this project, you can see that it's almost like 360-degree of changes, especially for my parcel. If we look at the Tionam area, talking about public, the way public treat the river, okay? If you look at the previous, before the project started, when we talk about a river, it's always a negative treatment. It become a dumping site. It become, you can have all the negative things at the bed of the river, and it's always there's no walkway, there's no proper treatment, and even if you look at the previous development, it's always to become the backyard. It's never facing to the river. But with the project, you know, you can see that as I just take one good example, Tionam. If you know that Tionam previously, I think it still maintained the only housing, terrace housing, or terrace, typical terrace housing in exactly at the city center. Okay.
Right.
And not just the Tionam area, we also have a lot of these what we call the old residential area. And if you look at the profile of Tionam, you have a lot of elderly person there. Okay. And when we start off with this project, I'm very happy because I can see that once the project completed, you can see all these elderly people, you know, they have organized what we call Tai Chi
Actually,
and even a dance, you know, and that is very good because
but Haji Idris, sorry to jump in here. The project itself has not been spared from controversy and delays and expenses, increasing expenses. So why hasn't, despite all the good things that you're saying, why hasn't it achieved the objectives as stated in the Auditor-General's report? Where were the challenges?
the biggest challenges for this project, you see, uh, the development of River of Life, it consists of two parts. Number one is the beautification that is on the surface. The other one is actually cleaning the river. And this was actually controlled by basically the GPS and also other agency, the government agency. So if you look at the breakdown of the financial, about I think 1 million is the beautification work, but 70% of it is 3 million plus is actually the cleaning the river. That is more difficult to do because that involve of, you know, building the intersector plant to clean the river, to intercept the water, and then it goes to the filtration and then a lot of cleaning process. And that to find a location for it, sometimes when we dig, you can't do it, you can't proceed it because they involve, you know, massive relocating of the utilities such as like the cable of electricity, and even sometimes at like Ampang area, I have two portions of the project. That's why I thought if I can share, it would be nice because you can see the whole map where it covers, and the other side, which is the Ampang line. Then you can see that when we try to locate the intersector plant, when we do the testing and so on, it's too near. Some part is too near to the LRT station. There's one LRT station quite nearby there.
So having said that, the fact that the cleaning the water has been the main challenge of the River of Life project, the government has now said that they want to continue with it. How do we reconcile that there are these massive challenges of logistic challenges of trying to ensure water quality, yet the government is pushing ahead after spending almost 4 billion ringgit already?
I think the intersector plan is already done in especially for my portion, that my package. But there are other things that involve, which is handled by GPS. So it's not proper for me to comment on that because my duty or my role is more on the beautification. What that is on the ground, on like such as, you know, you can see along the riverfront, we have a nice pedestrian, and then it's not only that conducive for the public, but it's also allow the bikers to do the activity during weekend.
Haja Dalilah, do you feel that all the achievements that you have accomplished during your time in DBKL for the beautification part of the River of Life project, has that been diminished by the lack of clean water in the river?
You see, the pollution, the beautification, cleaning the river to achieve class 2B is something that they are still working on, okay? Because it's not 100% yet completed. But for beautification wise, I would say that it's only completed. But then again, the River of Life is not just the beautification. It also involves another in the future, there is the investment, you know, the increase of the value long the whole stretch of the river, which that, we expect that, investor come in, and then create a lot of activity. But again, you see, a part of the challenge that, during the construction time and the ending of the project to finish up a few things is also the time of PKP, the COVID-19, if you remember. So that also contribute for the delay. And also, I can tell you that the whole stretch of river is very open. You can't build fencing because it belongs to the public and anybody can come in. And one of the problem, I would say, that become the challenge for this project is you have a homeless as well as vandalism. These are the two culprits. Why I say that? You see, when we finish the project, it has come out very nice with the lighting and so on. And I think what happens that the lighting, the cable, people steal it just for the sake of getting a few ringgit. And to replace the whole stretch of the cable, it costs DBKL 1,000. And to implement it, to redo the cable is not easy because you have to call the contractor come in, and then there is a lot of process that the whole thing is very massive.
Understood. Right. Haja Dalilah, thank you so much for speaking with us today. Appreciate your time. That was Haja Dalilah bin Abdullah, former director of DBKL's Building Control Department, wrapping up this episode of Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris, signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.